Hello, I'm Ted Biaselli, Vice President of Programming and Development here at the Hub Network, and welcome to our second ever What's the Hubbub, where we answer live questions about what's going on here at the Hub, and you get to do the interviews. Before I introduce my guests for tonight, I want you to take a look at a clip of our newest original series titled Spooksville.
Today starts the rest of my life. My dad says it's a fresh start, a new adventure. Right.
I'm sure you're gonna make a ton of friends in no time.
You know, I can see how it's just party, party, party here all night long.
Everyone that lives here says it's a quiet town. It's not.
There's a logical explanation for everything. Most of the time. Everyone knows, dark or not, 7 o'clock, it's time to go home.
You have to be on your toes to survive in Spooksville.
Who's there?
I hate to break it to you, Adam, but it's all real. Creatures, glitches.
You know, if you told me a year ago this would be my new home, I would have laughed at you. You've got to be kidding me.
This is where it all started. Where she cursed the town.
When you remain calm and approach this methodically, forget this!
Spooksville, Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific. Only on the Hub Network.
Woo! Tonight, here with me are the show's leading man, Keean Johnson, and the head writer, Jim Krieg. Please welcome my two awesome guests.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
I love this show so much. I'm a little biased. I was actually the development executive on this show, so I am very, very much a fan of both of these guys in this room tonight. So, yay!
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
And it's Ted. Right?
It is. Hi, I'm Ted. Nice to meet you. So let's dive in. We're going to go first to our group of bloggers that are already live on our Google Hangout. Nikita Stevens from Nikki's Random Musings in Parkville, Maryland. Nikita, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Nikita.
Hi.
Hi, Nikita.
No, I'm not.
Because your voice, you sound deadly.
Like,
Get used to that, guys. This is Jim Krieg.
You sound
Ready?
beautiful and deadly.
Thank you. I have a question, and both of you guys could answer. What's your favorite episode of Spooksville?
What's your favorite episode of Spooksville?
That's like Sophie's Choice. It's like they're all wonderful little children. I do love them all, but like as you asked the question, one just popped into my head, and it's what's called The Thing in the Closet, and it's the one where Sally is abducted by a kind of giant mossy thing into her closet, and I think that for me that was the first one where the comedy just exploded. There's a scene with you and Nick and Harrison Hood, who plays Scaredy Katzman, where they duct tape him to a chair. And I think that should live in television history forever. It's just like there was nothing not good in it. It made me so happy.
That's a good one. I'd have to say, the ones that have aired so far, I'd have to say my favorite is Phone Fear, the one where we're in the woods and we keep on talking on our cell phones and the fog keeps on coming in. I thought that was so cool just because we were always like in the woods, and there was a lot to do with all the water, and I got to run a lot, which is my favorite to do.
And there's a 1981 cell phone.
And
The cell phone was great casting. The train was awesome in that. That just
You guys were the train.
there was a train. There's and there's a great moment after Sally. This is our spoilers in case you haven't seen this one, but
No spoilers.
but it's aired. And Sally disappears when she picks up the phone, and it's a telemarketer. And then he gets sucked into the fog, starts chasing Adam because it's on speakerphone. And he's like, "No, it shouldn't count. It's a speakerphone."
Well, there was one part where I wasn't able to jump off the actual train. But what happened was that roll I got to do, and basically I just got to roll on the ground like 6 or 7 times. And get my whole body in mud.
That really bums Keean out when he can't do his own stunts.
It is a bummer.
Really, really does bum him out.
Yeah, it is a bummer. But I have to say, when they jumped off the train and landed into cardboard boxes, I was kind of happy I didn't have to do that one.
But this is a seamless stunt, and I mean you do roll a long way, and
I
you're
do.
covered, and your whole back is
It's
covered with mud.
yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Wow,
Nikita, what's your favorite episode? And is it one I wrote? Oh, she's gone.
I'm not sure if it's one you wrote or not, but we did have to review the Phone Fair episode, and both my kids watched it and they loved it. It's my daughter's favorite.
Which
So
episode?
with the Phone Fair.
The Phone Fair.
Oh yeah, that is it is
good
good.
one.
That's
really good one.
Nicole Dubuque who writes other things for the
Yes.
Hub Network
We love
and is a very
Nicole.
talented writer.
We're going to go to Lisa Collins at Sweetie's Freebies in Council Bluffs, Indiana.
Iowa.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, where's
My question is for
Iowa.
Keean. Yes. That's okay. Keean, is there a scene that you were shooting that really did scare you?
I'd have to say, if you remember the pilot, there was the scene where me and Madeline Templeton, who's played by Kimberly Sustad, where we're in that that black void, and that was like the very first day I met her, and it was kind of cool and exciting. But what happened was I went into shoot with her, and our first scene was her. She said, "Can you just run the lines with me?" And she was so scary and so intense, and that actually caught me off guard. Like I had to grab her, and I felt really uncomfortable. But yeah, that was actually pretty intense and a little intimidating to me.
She's
She's
really
so
good.
good.
Kimberly's
That's fun.
really good.
She's really good.
Yeah, she is amazing. Kimberly Sustad, who plays Madeline Templeton, we cannot get enough of her.
Yeah, I think the dads at home are probably feeling the same way. Like, oh, it's a Madeline episode. Yes, maybe I'll watch with you. It's for the whole family. You know?
Tori Michael from the TV Mom in Columbus, Ohio. Hi, Tori.
Hi, Ted.
How are you?
I'm good.
Do you have a question for one of these guys?
I do. My question's actually for Keean. And Keean, I got to meet you at the Hub Halloween Bash back in October.
Oh, really?
Before Spooksville aired. So how have things changed since then for you and for the series?
I mean, I think it was the it was the very first day when we had they started premiering little promo videos to the on that massive screen, and people started looking around and they saw me and they saw Nick sitting there, and it was really cool just to see people's reaction, because it was all really happy things and everyone was joking around, and they showed a really intense trailer and the whole room just went completely silent. And I think that was that was the first time to really see what people were gonna think, and it was great, and they all seemed to really like it.
I remember how Keean. I'm name dropping, but Keean and Nick came over to my house and watched episodes with me and my kids, which was a huge thrill for them. And I just remember Nick being like, "I have waited for this my whole life." You know, going to that event and there's a red carpet. It was just huge. That was so great.
Or the purple carpet.
It was a purple carpet.
I apologize.
Purple carpet. We love the purple carpet. That was exciting for me too, because you get so attached to something and you're so close to it. And that was the first time I think I really saw anything for the show in front of an audience too. So
Sure.
it was to see how people were receiving it was very exciting.
And they really took it.
It was very exciting.
It was really cool.
Sabina Bowman at TV Equals in Lumber City, Georgia. Hello, Sabina.
Hi guys, it's so nice to speak with you.
Nice to speak with you too. You have a question for one of these guys?
I do. My question is actually for both of you. I'm curious as to what urban legend or myth that you would like to put a Spooksville spin on that you haven't had a chance to do yet.
It's a great question. What urban myth or legend would you put your own Spooksville spin on?
Oh gosh.
Well,
you should go first, Jim.
Wow. That's a great
That's a
question.
really good question.
Well, in the Phone Fear episode where the kids are sitting around the fire, we touched on that, because we all the kids, if it was a longer scene, we would have had each kid do one of those stories, and they're usually urban myth stories,
Yeah.
like the lumberjacks being replaced with mental patients, is sort of like the hook in the door kind of a, like the story Bill Murray tells in Meatballs, But I mean, those are all great, but usually they're often too gory. Oh no, I have an urban myth pitch for you for next season, but I can't. It's so good, you're gonna flip out. Keep watching. It's coming. I'm not kidding.
Okay, how about you? What urban myth do you love that you would love to see?
Gosh, I can't even think of one. I kind of feel like all of our episodes are so wacky that I couldn't even think of adding one. I mean, I think the tonsil episode, just because getting your tonsils taken out is such a thing. I don't know if kids really get their tonsils taken out now, because I haven't yet, and I probably won't now after watching that episode.
They don't really move around on their own.
And I thought that was
also not
really
this big.
crazy. Yeah.
We're going now to Susan Simon at Susan's Disney Family, my hometown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hi, Susan.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Ew.
Good. My question is, it's a little bit different than the other questions, but how different is it for you being on stage versus being on set in front of the camera?
Question, how different is it being on stage versus being on set?
It's such a different, both are very different. Being, in front of 10 people doing a scene or being in front of 1,000 people doing a scene, it's very different. You definitely have to project a lot more, and it's a completely different way of acting on stage than to film. But I feel like being on film, it's way more intimate, and it's you're with sometimes just like 3 people, and it's a really cool feel. And I was so happy to make that move from stage to film in this way, not because I feel like a lot of my friends they go to a live audience, which is really cool, but to be able to go on location and to be able to shoot something like this was quite a treat for sure.
Is it harder to, I guess one being more intimate, there's 10 people on set, and then there's 100,000 people in your audience, or however big when you're playing the Coliseum. Which one's more challenging? Is it more challenging to be with a smaller group of people, or to be with all of those people?
What's funny is I feel like when I was doing Spooksville, I felt I was a lot more nervous and a lot more, because it's so close, and I got kind of worried. But I feel like on stage I was able to perform not to just the people I can see. There were so many people that I just had to kind of say whatever. I just have to go out.
They were all judging you.
Exactly.
There. We kept joking on set that he was the replacement Adam. And
yes, I was Adam number 2.
And we had a third one ready to go in case this one didn't work out. Next we're going to Katie Sexton, Mommy Katie in Amarillo, Texas. Hello, Katie.
Hello. I have a question for Keean. I was at the Hub Bash as well, cool. And how has life changed for you since the premiere of Spooksville?
Just in the best way possible. It's been great just to, I went into Spooksville being so proud of just the very first script, which was just incredible, and that's really what made me really want to work so hard to get the part. And just seeing everyone's reactions, and to be a part of something really cool, not just the way it looks, but the message it also brings. It's so cool to be a part of a show like this, and to also, the nicest fans and the nicest people talking to me, and it's been really great.
We keep beating him so it doesn't go to his head.
Have you been recognized?
Yeah, have you been recognized?
I actually, not very often, but there's been a few times. There was one time where I was walking down the street in Hollywood, and there was a little kid that walked up to me and said that I was Adam from Spooksville, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
And then there was another time I was in Tennessee for a few days, and someone noticed me on the street, which was kind of cool.
Pretty cool. You did Nashville. Is that where you were shooting?
Yeah,
Nashville,
when I shot an episode of Nashville, and it was really cool just to see someone kind of notice your face.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Get used to it.
Yeah, no kidding. We'll have to give you a list of places to go to be seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Nathan Young at Geek Alabama in Anniston, Alabama. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, guys. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, Nathan,
did Christopher Pike? Oh, yeah. I tweet a lot of the shows and everything. Did Christopher Pike ever imagine seeing his books being turned into a TV show?
Did you ever? Yeah, that's a good question. Did Christopher Pike ever imagine his books being turned into a TV show? Have you guys had a chat?
I've emailed back and forth with him because he's 44 million books or something. It's pretty good.
Maybe he'll accomplish something.
Yeah,
someday.
It's not bad. He knows what he's doing. We didn't talk about whether he ever imagined this becoming a series, but he has mentioned how he's been frustrated that other things looked like they were going to go and then stop. That's how it is in Hollywood. Something is developed and then at the last minute can fall apart. So I imagine that he's probably pretty stoked that this exists and there's multiple episodes and it's gonna be in the collective unconscious that audience, of our kid audience and our adult audience as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if people go to Amazon and buy the books, you know.
When we first started the Hub, that's how long it took this show to get up and running. The network first started, and one of the projects that I was reviewing was Spooksville, and the voices of those characters, of Sally and Adam, they just sprung to life for us, and it was one of those things where, like, oh my goodness, if we can hear kids say these lines that are so funny and sharp, it's going to sing, and then you and Katie and Nick, they brought them to life.
Those voices are so specific, and in a lot of kids' material, they can be very generic, and you could just highlight lines that we would steal from the books and use in the show. And then also, once you have those and you've heard them, suddenly you know the characters and they become real to you, and you can write more for them, you know.
We've got another question from Nikita Stevens. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I wanted to know, Keean, I noticed on Twitter, I was looking at some of your stuff on Twitter. Has anybody sent you any prom invites via social media yet, or it just hasn't happened yet?
I'm sorry, one more time. You kind of broke up there a little second.
Sorry. I just wanted to know if anybody had sent him any prom invites via social media yet.
Have you, like, on Twitter, has anybody, like, chatted you up on Twitter or social media or Instagram?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've gotten so many different, like, comments, and which has really, like, kept me, because, like, I was a little apprehensive about
Keean was not on anything when we first met him. Nothing.
I just didn't like it at all, and finally Ted was like, you have to get a Twitter, and I said,
welcome to the future.
I said, okay, I'll get one, and I kind of broke down and set one up, and I think the reason I've kind of just, like, fallen in love with it now is just how many, like, great questions people come up with on Twitter, and telling me how much they like the show, and not just specifically saying they like the show, but, like, what kind of episodes they liked, and what scenes they liked, and what lines they loved, those one-liners.
Well, they also like you. I mean, there's sometimes their names online are just like Keean #1 fan, Katie #1 fan, you know, and there's also people who, there's a group of Adam Sally people and Watch Sally people.
Oh, yeah.
It's one or the other, you know. It's going to come down to it.
And you guys tweet live when the shows.
We do. Yes, every Saturday.
So every Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Pacific. These guys are tweeting. So
tweet
make sure,
because that's what's keeping me on Twitter.
I'm going to go back to Lisa Collins. Hello, Lisa.
Hello. This time I'm going with Jim. My husband and I are big fans of Monk.
Oh, are you?
Do you have yes, loved it. Wish it was still going on. Do you have a preference of writing mystery for children and young adults versus adults, or do you like?
You know, this sounds like a little pat answer, but Monk was basically a family show. The crimes were never so grisly that you couldn't watch with your kids, and frankly, Spooksville is, I think, entertaining enough that whether you're an adult or a kid, you can enjoy it. And the mysteries are sort of the same. I mean, you had a lot more room on Monk to play with his OCD and the comedy of that, because we had a whole hour. But we just kind of but in some ways it's the same in that there's a portion of the show that's dedicated to comedy and a portion that's dedicated to mystery or, you know, suspense or horror.
Yeah.
But in some ways it's very similar to me, and that show was a blast, and I had a great time doing it.
That's a great answer. We're going to go back to the TV mom, Tori Michael. Hello.
Hello. So my question's for both Keean and Jim. Are there any funny backstage kind of stories you can tell us, or Jim, maybe funny stories from the writer's room?
Stage stories.
Backstage is this man.
I'd say backstage, I heard now that this doesn't happen on a lot of sets, but we do this thing, you know, you have these, like, daily sides from, like, your script for the day, and we just started this thing where if you had a script in your hand, you'd get it slapped out of your hand, so that was kind of our running joke. Like, during blocking, I remember actually one of our directors, I was reading the script and trying to be actually serious for once, and I was reading the script and he just comes and slaps it right out of my hand.
It's not rude. Not rude at all.
So that was our kind of running joke on set. It was fun.
When I was there, it felt like you and Nick were punching each other in the arm.
Oh,
there was
yeah,
a lot of
like
punching and running around the set.
you do that thing on your knee, and if you
Oh, the circle?
and then you get punched in the arm. So we just weren't wearing many tank tops on the show, which is probably good.
Do you know who used to do that? I went to school with Darren Aronofsky, the famous director, and he would do that with that circle and punch thing.
Yeah, no, it's
Inside Hollywood.
I will never watch The Fountain the same way again. Thank you.
That's going to change now for you.
We're going to go back to Sabina. Hi, Sabina.
Hi, guys. I wanted to ask, can you give us a few teasers about what's ahead for the rest of the season?
A few teasers about what's ahead for the rest of the season. Be very careful.
I want to tell you everything. If it was up to me, I would tell you, but Ted is stopping me.
Spoiler Krieg. That's this guy.
I can tell you that this weekend is the episode is called Blood Drive, and there is vampirism involved and comedy and a school.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah, so you might assume that. And also a school dance, which is a vampire-themed dance. And I will tell you the behind-the-scenes story of this is that by this time in our shooting schedule, I felt like I knew Keean and Nick and Katie, and because I'm a man of a certain age, I was like, oh, that's a shame they don't get to go to school and have a real school dance. I know, I'll just write one into the show. And so I worked with Ernie and we put it into the show so that they would have a real school dance experience. And then when you see in the show, there's a moment where they go into the dance and a couple girls are kind of just like dancing like this, and their boys like leaning against the wall, and so it's kind of a terrible dance. Oh, that's exactly what my high school dance was like. So they did have that experience, only with vampires. So better, really.
And then of the episodes coming up, any little tidbit you want to say?
I mean, sadly, you're not able to give much without giving a complete spoiler. But I just remember we, like the whole cast, and like the day before we'd shoot the next episode, we'd get the script. So we'd have all the crew would all get the script at the same time, and we'd all be sitting like reading it together, and you'd hear people like being like, oh my gosh, like this episode's gonna be so cool.
Oh, that's nice.
So I mean, like every week,
and laughter.
Exactly. I know that every week the crew and everyone on set was just so excited to read the episodes. So I can't wait for you guys to actually see the final product.
The season finale, Jim comes running into my office, and Jim's like, I have the best idea for the season finale, and he proceeds to just erupt with it. And it was so fun and so cool. And we had the last moment of the last episode of this season manifested in that room, and it was so great. So it's going to be one of those things that people are going to talk about when they say it. It's
that
really
is how I do tend to burst in.
It's really good.
And say this is the best episode ever,
and
over and over.
Whoever's in my office, doesn't matter. Jim comes in, hi, I got the best idea.
Well, then
Hello?
I've made a new friend.
I'm going to go back to Susan Simon. Hi, Susan.
Hi. I have a question for both of you. I love scare. Is there a movie or show that scared you?
Did you say that was there an episode that scared us?
Oh, just a movie in general, like a movie that scared you, or
what's
scary
movie?
Oh,
it's embarrassing. I have two. The scariest monster is from an episode of Star Trek called the Salt Vampire, and she could look like anybody, but she was a terrifying monster with suction cups on her hand and would put them on your face and suck all the salt out of your body, as one does. But the scariest movie.
I worked for her at one point.
But the scariest movie I saw when I was growing up, they'd have a 4:30 movie after school, and you'd watch it, and they'd have Charlton Heston week, and every day Charlton Heston would do something brave. And then there's an episode. The movie was called The Omega Man, where he is the last man on Earth, and everyone else is a zombie. It was just remade a couple of years ago as I Am Legend. And there's a moment when he realizes the sun is going down, and the monsters, the mutants will be coming out to get him. And he goes, oh my gosh, the sun is going down. They're waking up. And then he starts running down the street. And when I was 10, I was like, Charlton Heston is terrified, and he's running down the street. And I was tense for like the next 3 years. And then I didn't see the movie again until I was a film student at NYU, and I showed my dorm mates, because they just started home video, and I was like, you are about to see the scariest movie ever. And we put it in the giant Betamax, and they laughed and they laughed and they laughed at me. And what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, I mean, I am not a big fan of gore, and I think that if I was, then I'd have many more to tell, but I just can't bring myself to watch them. But I'd have to say The Sixth Sense is definitely, I haven't seen it in a while, but definitely one of the scariest films I've seen.
It's a great movie. We're going back to Katie Sexton. Hi, Katie.
Hello. My question's for Jim. Whenever you write the shows, do your kids ever help you with inspiration?
Honestly, no. The kids love to help. They pitch ideas to me and pitch little moments, and I also pitch things to them, and like how, depending on how they react.
That's so cool.
I have a Scooby-Doo movie coming out there where my son Riley, who was I think 10 when I wrote it, gave me a whole sequence and the whole thing, and he'll get no money for that whatsoever, but he'll have the satisfaction of knowing that that was his joke, and that in some ways I think it's good to know that you have an idea, and then it can be turned into something that other people can see, and God willing, maybe you'll get paid for it someday.
Has anything Riley or Delilah done made it into Spooksville? Specific that you can remember?
Yes. Yes. He won't. Hopefully, he won't watch this. But here's my story. Is this scarring? I don't know. So when he was maybe 8, when the first Meatballs, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs came out, I took him to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and there's a scene at the end. It's a really lighthearted, beautiful movie. There's a scene at the end where these rotisserie chickens chase the main character around. And he laughed all the way through the movie until he got to those rotisserie chickens, and he flipped out. He was like terrified of these chickens, and like putting him to bed the rest of the week was just like he was nervous. And I would get this look from my wife. You know the look, and so I put that into the thing in the closet episode. That there's one thing that Sally is terrified of, and it's those commercial with rotisserie chickens. And so yes, they inspire me like that all the time. Thanks for a great question.
That is a great question, and it's an even better answer. We're going to go back to Geek Alabama's Nathan Young.
Hello, Jim. How much inspiration for writing Spooksville comes from other spooky TV shows like The Walking Dead?
Everything.
And Keenan. How much time do you spend on the set every day?
We did about 10-hour days. About 5 days a week, I'd say, but weekends were the worst because I just wanted to be on set the entire time. I feel like I never got tired, which probably pissed off a lot of the crew members. But I definitely, it was 10-hour long days, but I loved it so much.
He's absolutely being truthful, because I talked to your mother like when we first got there, and it was like, it's a long day, I gotta tell you. And Brennan was like, oh no, he loves it. He's just soaking this up.
Yeah.
And so he does love it. And but yes, there are so many things in every episode that it's a reference to a comic book or a TV show or a movie, because I didn't go outside much as a kid, and I watched a lot of stuff, and it all went into the blender and gets, it all comes back.
This question from Tanya Miller at the best blog ever, Unorganized Mommy of 3. Is that the best blog name or not? Her question was very similar. Where does your inspiration come from? So obviously, if you watch the show, there's a lot of, there's the book.
Yes.
And then there's everything that went into Jim's blender. So
yes.
give some other specifics.
Well, I will say that each of those books has something great in it, and they would be impossible to shoot. They are so vast and so expensive. Even the thing in the closet, 2/3 of the book, they go into another realm that would be, we'd have to shoot in New Zealand, and it just wouldn't happen. So I had to find a way to take one moment from each thing and then change it around. But so many of the episodes are a lot of different things. The haunted cave kind of feels like a Star Trek episode, but it also feels like Pinocchio, where they're in the giant whale. But then at the same time, you think that first you find out the cave is a monster, and then that it's alive, and then you find out that it's a victim, and you have sympathy for it by the end, which is such a Star Trek steal, So I steal from everything. I can
inspired.
Yes. When I say steal, I mean homage, which is a respectful tip of the hat.
What he's not saying is, in his office when he was here, the walls were covered with key imagery of everything from the Tall Man from the Phantasm movies to
That's Moore Park.
Exactly, to the Star Trek monsters, the Salt Monster, like you mentioned, all that stuff.
The episode with the Wicked House, the Evil House, the Halloween episode. That boy was from It's a Good Life, the Twilight Zone episode where Bill Mooney is a little boy who can wish anything. And you look at him and go, oh, what a sweet little boy. And then by halfway through the show, you're like, this is terrifying. Oh, that was the paparazzi.
They're everywhere.
So yes, a lot of stuff is inspired by other media.
We're going to go back to Nikita. Nikita, do you have another question?
Yes, my question this time is for Jim. How is it different working on this than it was working on Clueless?
Well, first of all, Clueless was my first live-action job, and it was a blast.
Oh, wow.
And that cast was really fun. Donald Faison and Stacey Dash and Rachel Blanchard, and they've all gone off and done wonderful things. And and Lisa Donovan, who was so funny. They are all. They weren't old. They were young people, but they were in their 20s playing teenagers. And Nick and Keean and Katie and Morgan, they're all actual teenagers. Yeah. And so when you see them on screen, it really feels very real and not stagey in any way. But the one thing that was terrific about Clueless is it really stretched my comedy chops, and I hope that I brought that to this show, and that there's a lot to laugh at the same time that you're being afraid.
And I think observationally, the language, the language of Clueless is its own language.
Yes.
And this, I feel too, there's a rhythm, there's a certain style to the language of Spooksville.
Sure.
Yes.
So.
Oh, and Ted, you'll appreciate, I was in I make a cameo in a very special Clueless that takes place at the comic book convention with the special guest star Burt Ward, TV's Robin, and I'm kind of lurking behind him. So look for me.
We will have to look for that. We're going to go back to Lisa Collins. Lisa, hello.
Hello. Keean, Christopher Pike was actually one of my favorite authors growing up. Had you read many of his books, and do you have a favorite author?
When I got the audition, they didn't have the books for sale, and I was trying to find one, and I couldn't find anyone who had the books. But I have to say my favorite author right now is a man named Con Eagledon, who does these incredible historical fiction novels about Julius Caesar. He did one, and then Genghis Khan, which is the one I'm reading right now, and those are cool.
Those sound great.
Yeah.
When I got all the Spooksville books, I had to look for them on eBay, and I collected them all, and then I've read other stuff too of that he did, the Last Vampire 1, 2, and 3, and he's just done tremendous body work.
Tori Michael has another question. Hi, Tori.
Hi. My question is actually for Keean. How are you and your character Adam similar and different from one another? What parts of you are shown in Adam?
You look alike.
Yeah, you look alike.
They're the same height.
This is always the hardest question. I'd have to say, differences, not in our personality, but in the situation. Obviously, I live in beautiful California, and I don't have to move to a very small town with ghosts in it.
Well, you did for 6 months.
True. Similarities. I can never do similarities.
I think you're both funny. There are moments in there that are seem like Adam / Keean moments. The episode with the giant plant, where he's sitting with Nick and he's dipping it's an artichoke leaf into a dip, and he goes, "I'm a man eating plant. It was like the most real moment in the entire series.
I did that because actually Nick was getting really annoyed because I kept on getting really close to his face, and he hates when I get really close to his face. So that was more of teasing than anything.
But it's such a real moment because then they cut to Nick and he's so annoyed. It's like you really seem like totally real people who are real friends.
Keean joke. You would totally make that joke.
I probably would.
There's the other and the joke in the tonsils one that just played felt really Keean too, which I don't even know if it's a laugh out loud joke, but it's when Nick says, "My tonsils got up and walked away," and you said, "Are you sure?" You know?
There was actually with that episode. Sorry, it has nothing to do with your question, but there's a part where I have this like massive stick and I'm poking the ceiling with it to get the tonsils out. What wasn't supposed to happen is the ceiling panel wasn't supposed to fall down and break, and that was actually the hospital ceiling, the part of the ceiling, and I completely hit it too hard and it just fell down. But we did keep that shot.
There's a similarity too. Keean would have done that.
I would have, yeah.
I did do that.
I always break something.
Sabina has another question. Hello.
Hi again, guys. Okay, I have to ask, what is the spookiest thing that has ever happened to you in real life?
In real life.
So many spooky things. Oh, I'm torn, but I'll pitch my most recent one. A week ago, my lovely white-haired old 83-year-old mother was visiting me from Michigan, and so as a good son, I took her out to the symphony, and we went to the opera, the Disney.
The Disney Opera House.
Yeah, and it was right in the middle of Ravel, which is a very loud, booming symphony, when the 5.1 earthquake struck.
Yeah.
And evidently, the entire building, to make it safer, is built on a skateboard, and the whole thing is just rocking like this, and that was pretty spooky. Whoa. And I held my mom's hand ostensibly to calm her down, but in fact because I was terrified.
And how was she? Was she okay?
She was fine. She thought it was part of the symphony. She thought it was like, she was like, what's the big deal? Why is everyone trying to
My
leave?
mother called screaming.
Did she?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have to say that these earthquakes that are happening now, I don't know what's happening to LA, but I kind of feel like I need to move because these earthquakes are really scary.
No, the valley's good. You're good.
Well, no, at 6 a.m. I like woke up and my bed was like shaking, and I really thought that it was either a dream or the world was actually ending. So
it is a little spooky. Maybe we'll do an earthquake. It's very special.
Oh gosh.
Don't jinx anything. We're going to go back to Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hi. My question is for Keean.
Yeah.
What made you decide to get into acting? Is it something you always wanted to do?
I mean, my mom always says that I was a big drama queen when I was younger, but I'd have to say I just started. I love performing. I love dancing, and that started because when I did Billy Elliot in New York, that was my first time acting. I didn't really think that. You know, I loved movies. My mom always showed us really great, meaningful movies when I was really young, and I always thought it was really cool. But I never thought that I could do that. I just didn't think that was a job that just anyone can just do. And when I started in New York, I just like found out how much I loved being a character and, you know, finding like a different depth of the character. And that's when I started. I was about 10 years old, and I decided I wanted to do that for the rest of my life. So far.
And he's good at it. I mean, I don't want to say this because his head will explode, but we did a nationwide casting search for Adam on both coasts as well as Canada and the U.S. And it was very clear that Keean said he did his own audition on his own.
I was in England, and I still don't know how I got the part because I thought it was like the worst self-tape I ever sent. I was in England, and my granddad was talking to me, and he was like trying to give me notes about how to do the lines, and I was like, Granddad, you've never acted before in your life, like just let me do it. And I mean, we were up until 2 a.m, and I called my mom like distressed. I'm like, Mom, I cannot send this. Like it's 2 a.m, and I ended up sending it, and somehow
Well, the executive producer Jane Starts called, and she goes, "Wait till you see this kid." And it was one of those things where you watch it and you're like, That's our Adam.
I did not see that tape, but I was in the casting session when you came in and performed, did a live audition, and we saw a lot of kids, and a lot of them have a lot going for them, you know. But there was and I actually in my head I thought everyone would be younger, but it's hard to go super young, and Keean's pretty tall. But you came in the room, and as soon as you started acting, it was like, oh well,
that was it.
Yeah, and it was a really awesome television moment.
And then it was fun watching them all the chemistry happened between all the different components. That was fun. Katie Sexton's got another question. Hello.
Hello. This question's for both of them. What are your relationships with the rest of the cast and crew offset?
Oh, I'm pretty mean. I can be a little nasty.
I mean, yeah, it was a long process. It was about 4 months. 4 months, right? 4 months in Canada on an island with nowhere to go, and I was really worried just because, you know, especially my mom. I think my mom was more worried than I was because you have those stage moms in LA, and immediately my mom became great friends with them, and I literally just fell in love with both of them. We're still great friends now, and me and Nick would play pool and hang out during the weekends, and it was such a great experience. And the crew too. I mean, it was my very first experience ever being on television and ever experiencing being behind, in front of the camera and acting. So it was really nerve-wracking for me. But they were always like, you know, patted me on the back and helped me out through everything. So yeah, it was such a great experience, and we just all had we were just a big family for sure.
You know, that was not my first crew, and you should know that it was really amazing and kind of magical, and I think maybe just Jane picking the right people, but the three leads, their moms were there almost all the time, and those moms were the least stagey, pushy moms. They're the sweetest women in the world. Amazing. And have built 3 of the nicest kids so far. We'll see what happens, but because who knows, but and it was lovely, and the crew was lovely. Everyone gave 110%. They really, everybody did more than they were getting paid for. They could have all stopped and said, you know, but it was one of those experiences where everyone actually liked the show and really believed it. They weren't just there for a paycheck.
Well, even the crew too. I mean, it was my first job, so I just thought every little thing about it was incredible. But the crew, they were all like, we had this like one, I can't remember his name, but he was like this like big, like burly, like big beard, and he was part of the lighting crew. And he came up to me one day and he was like, "Have you read the next episode?" And I never said a word to him. And he's like, this is like big, he must be like 6'5", and I was like, I didn't know you read them. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you have to read it. Like, go and read it right now. It's so good." And then he like ran off. And I was like, "This is so cool."
To read the next one.
You should know that like a film crew, at least this film crew. Imagine a group of pirates, but they're kind of hairy and big, and and like they all live in a caravan somewhere, and like it's a circus. And
it is the best of the Canadian North.
But they are beautiful people, and they built everything, and they cared. It was fantastic.
I just want to give one shout out to the moms real quick, because in the kids entertainment business, you know, there's talented kids all over the place. And when you do the casting, you're not only casting those kids, you're casting the parents, because they will either make your lives wonderful or a nightmare. And these women were so amazing, so supportive. I absolutely adore Keean's mom. I love Katie's mom and Nick's mom. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and they really did make the set an amazing, amazing place. It is so rare to find moms like that who were just so involved and so happy to be there and excited.
And lovely.
And just really good people.
When I went to the set, I wanted to make friends, obviously, with the actors and like bond with them, but I'm the same age as the moms. Yeah. So like we were like, you know, like this.
It was amazing. We're going to go back to Philly for Susan Simon.
Hi, I have just a quick question for Keean. When you found out you got the part, what was your reaction?
It's a good question.
To be honest, it was I think getting the callback one was kind of, I thought I got like the wrong call, or it was just like some joke, because I really like actually thought, it wasn't one of those scenes where I was like searching for a compliment, but it was like I really was like, that was the worst job I ever did. So I went back in super nervous, and a lot of the kids that were there were very, very talented actors that I auditioned with all the time, and they're, you know, it was a great competition. They were all, I mean, so great, and they work great now. And I went to the room, and I thought I did okay. Like, they seemed to laugh, or I thought that they were maybe just like, ha ha ha, like, get them out of here as quick as possible. But then when I got the call, I was actually in Colorado, where there was no cell reception, in the middle of nowhere, and I had to like call and like be up on my tippy toes to like try to find reception. I was like, did you hear anything yet? Did you hear anything yet? And finally they said that I got the part, and it was so cool. You just get that feeling that you're so, you know, so happy.
Nailed it.
You know what's so strange is that, you know, before you cast the kids, you don't know who they are, but then after you cast them, they could never be anybody else. You know, you can't imagine ever thinking anyone else. But I mean, the first couple of scripts are written without anyone there, and so it was strange. It was different to write after they were cast, and you kind of had a sense of the actors.
Yeah, it was such a lucky cast. I mean, Nick and Katie, you know, sometimes I'd just be like watching Nick read those lines, and you could really never think of anyone else that could play that role. And he's like, I thought that someone that can just nail a role like that so well, I would think that he'll play that role for the rest of his life. But I had to help him out with a self-tape when we were in Canada, and he had to play some like sarcastic, like mean jock kid, and he was so good at that too. So I feel like we just
you'll all do
really did great on the cast.
Everything.
And 30 years from now, when they make the Spooksville movie, the remake, and you'll play a cameo, you'll play the mayor.
Yeah. You'll be like Johnny Depp going back into the 21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street, exactly. We're gonna go back to Geek Alabama's Nathan Young.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello, guys. We know you shoot your in Canada, but is there a dream shooting location you would love to shoot your show?
Jim actually does have a dream location that he wants to shoot, and it's actually in Canada.
What's my dream location?
The suspended...
Oh, I do. Oh, yes. I do have a dream location. I wish I knew the name of it, but we shoot... I guess the town is Duncan. It's in Cochin Bay. But an hour from there, because I comb the internet, I found a hotel that is... it's these spheres that are suspended from trees. That are each hotel room is its own little sphere. And anyway, that's look it up. It's pretty cool. I don't know. It's kind of it's a drive for all those pirates in our crew, but maybe.
Awesome. Nikita, do you have another question for our friends?
Yes, I have a question for Keean. How has your friend treated you since landing the role in Spooksville?
How have your friends treated you since landing the role of Spooksville? They hate him.
I think that, like, my brother is probably one of my best friends, and he definitely was very excited. Just he loves the opening night parties. So he's like, will there be a party? I was like, I'm sure there will be, and he's like, perfect, I'm so happy for you. And just everyone, I have just like a really great group of friends that have, with keeping me grounded, but also really, really proud of me. So
they should be.
Nice. Tori, do you have another question for us?
I do, and my question's for Keean. What has been your most fun moment on set? You mentioned the train roll and the ceiling tile, but like your all-time favorite thing that you've gotten to do.
Yes. What's yours?
Oh, gosh.
I wanted to say it.
Now I'm thinking of the one that you're going to say. I'd have to say this Saturday's episode, me and the director, Ken Friss, we kind of like read the script and we're like, this could be really, really cool. And so he gave me these I can't say anything, but he gave me, actually no, in the promo there's a little,
it's in it. You can see
these
the promo.
little squirt bottles that we had, and he basically, I didn't have to work that day, and he just gave me these squirt bottles to literally just play around with and try to make up tricks with, and we just spent a whole day doing tricks, and I was like, oh, I can jump off this chair, and you were like, no, you can't do that. But I do get to do a really cool stunt in this Saturday's episode.
There's a great stunt in there that if I had seen him do it in the third episode, you would have done it in every episode.
Yeah. I was going to say that in the first episode, Keean did do part of his own stunt. He got hit by the car. And
on the bike.
He had so much fun doing that, coming down the hill on the bike, skidding out on the bike, and then rolling onto the hood.
Yeah, I got to do this. Basically, I got to stand on this box, and then they had this like really, really nice car, and they basically just said to jump up and to land on it. But they didn't expect me to literally jump up as high as I can and slam into the car to the point where I thought like I was gonna break a window or something.
It was 1 a.m. There was rainy, and he was the giddiest kid I've ever seen in my life because he was throwing himself on the hood of the car.
Like there was times where I'd like jump and like hit the hood, and I'm supposed to like my face is supposed to hit the screen.
That's true.
And I hit the I have a helmet, so it didn't hurt my head. But what happened? I would like hit it, and then I'd like smile a little bit, and then we'd have to shoot it again.
That's no good. No smiling.
Yeah.
Sabina, do you have another question?
I do. This one's for Keean. I wanted to ask, what was it like preparing to film the dark corner in the scenes where Adam meets his mom again for the first time?
I read that. It was really tricky because I didn't know how I was going to play it. And I met Erica, her name is Erica Carroll, like an hour before we had to like have this really like intimate moment. And I was really, really nervous, but it felt great. Ken, the director again, brought me aside and had this really, really great talk with me, just about like his life, and he really gave me an insight, and it kind of just like got me all like worked up, and we shot the scene, and I felt pretty good with it, and it turned out to be a really, really great scene, how they filmed it.
And you did great. Jane Starks, the executive producer, called me before I saw the dailies and said, he cries, it's great. I mean, it was real. I mean, you feel bad because you're making someone cry in a scene, but in terms of drama, it turned out great.
Yeah.
And just a little side note, Erica Carroll and Kimberly Sustad both read for the roles of Madeline and Keean's mom, and we'd seen them both, and among other actresses, and it was one of those things that was like, oh man, who gets which role? And I think we made the right choice. I think they're both spectacular.
That's a no-lose scenario.
Katie, do you have another question for us?
I do. After this season, do you guys think you might do a bloopers reel? See what it's like, on set whenever stuff goes wrong.
Amazing idea, because
I think we have a lot tagged. I think we do.
I think that's like, I don't know how we got anything done. I feel like it was just like all of us like cracking up on set the entire time. I feel like there was one, which I really hope we have, when Harrison Hood, who plays Scaredy Katzman, when his very first day on set, he walks up, and I was like, this is going to be hard to keep a straight face, and I could not keep a straight face.
Because he throws all the books, and he's got that line.
Yeah. And he's like, hey guys, and I just like lost it. I just lost it. So I really hope that we have that movie.
He's terrific.
He's unbelievable.
So amazing. Yeah. Nathan, do you have another question?
Yeah. Who is your dream celebrity guest for Spooksville?
I would say Johnny Depp.
All right.
But that will never happen.
Who would he play?
So, I feel like he'd play like Mr. Spiney's brother or something like that.
Cool evil uncle for you, I think. Who's like I could write something up if he's interested, if he's watching. Well, because of there has to be a certain amount of Canadian content, and so we tend to use Canadian actors.
I know who you are.
And mine, of course, my dream would be William Shatner. and if any of you watching or listening out there have any connection, I will write the heck out of a William Shatner cameo.
Well, this goes great to our first submitted question from David Bethke from Santa Monica. If you could write an episode, this is actually to Keean. We know yours. If you could write an episode of Spooksville, what would it be? What would you do in that episode?
I'd have to say one of my favorite guest stars is Mr. Spiney, who's played by Mackenzie Gray, and he's like the coolest guy. Also, he'd be like playing guitar like offset, and he was like the coolest dude. And I have to say, I would do Mr. Spiney's backstory of like how he turns into this like weird kooky librarian that's into skeletal structures.
It's into bones.
So I would definitely do a Mr. Spiney backstory.
Mr. Spiney is amazing. We use him on Haunting Hour, and I think
he played the rock star.
Keith Richards.
He played Keith Richards, and it took me. I was like, why do I know him? And he's like, oh, he's on my show.
He also played a comic book creator.
And he was in Man of Steel. He played Jax Ur. Just out there. Big fan.
Okay, so Jim, some episodes have been based on the book, some have not. How do you mix them up? How do you know which ones and when you're going to take something into a different direction?
Well, some of them that don't seem to be based on a book are. Like, The Fire Inside started out as it's the one where they break into the witch's castle, and I can't remember the name of it, but I didn't want to. The Witch's Revenge. It's The Witch's Revenge. That's where that started out as, and then we brought in. It was kind of ties in with the influences, but that was the format of The Fire Within is DOA, which is a film noir movie where someone comes in and says, I want to report a murder, and the police say, who? And he says, me, and you find out that he has 24 hours to live, and that's essentially what Sally has, and they have to cure her. And then the critical care started out as there's a hospital episode with vampires, but by that time we knew we wanted to do a vampire dance. But I thought the hospital setting was so good, and that's Night of the Vampires, I think. Right. And then we thought, well, what can happen in a hospital? And we literally went, what's relatable? What is all kid? And if you're a kid who's my age, all kids got their. It started out with appendix. All the kids would get their appendix out. And
but I feel like that would be gross. And Katie would be limping the entire time.
Yeah, like something about
I'd have to carry her again.
And Mitch
Mitch Watson did an unbelievable job of that. And I called him and told him Mitch Watson writes great stuff, and I told him tonsils, and he was like, "Oh, thank you."
That question that I just asked was from Brittany Frederick, and I have another one from her. The horror genre for kids is always very tricky. How do you maintain the scares without it being too graphic? That's a great question.
Well, one of my favorite movies, I'll say it's my second favorite movie, is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and the blending of comedy and horror. It perks up the comedy because it gets you on edge. When Lou Costello knows that Dracula is coming out of that coffin and Abbott won't listen to him, it's terrifying and hilarious at the same time. But somehow, because you're doing comedy, it kind of takes the onus off of the undead are coming back to eat you alive. It doesn't somehow it doesn't seem so brutal. And what I hope is that we get some scares and some laughs. And some caring. Oh, and that's all I have to say about it. Be concise.
I love that. Good. Do you have a?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think all the writers and the directors, the way they filmed it, to keep it more of a thriller than anything. I don't think any of our episodes really are horror. I feel like it's mostly thriller because you're always just on the edge of your seat, and it also gives that sense of fear as well.
That's a great answer. BSC Kid Sarah Summer has a question for you guys. What do you think makes the show popular among kids? And I'm going to add a little addendum to that. What do you think makes adults like it?
I mean, I think kids like it just because, I remember when I was younger, when I'd play pretend with the kids in my neighborhood, we'd go on mysteries, and we'd try to solve mysteries, and that was just that's what I love to do. And I feel like when kids get to watch something like this, where they get to put themselves in, whichever character they think that they'd be most like, I feel like that's why kids just love the show. And I also feel adults love it because it's a show that if I had children, I would want them to watch a show like that, just because it's good quality television, and it's good. I mean, the way we filmed it, and I feel like it's just a bunch of films put together.
It's like a little movie. Honestly, the reason I think most kids would like it is because of Keean and Nick and Katie and Morgan. They're easy to look at. They're funny. They go on adventures. They have a real friendship, and I think it's kind of aspirational. It's wish fulfillment to imagine you're out in the dark with a flashlight with a good group of friends, and that you're doing something. You're solving a mystery. and hopefully the parents think it's funny and get those references that I'm sneaking in there. And frankly, there's a lot of kids television that you watch and you just want to pull your hair out as a parent, and hopefully this is not one of those shows. You'll keep your hair in.
I have a question from inspired by Savannah's Robin McCoy. Jim knows all of your background in writing for Spider-Man and being a comic book nerd and all that. So if you could write yourself into a comic book story, what superpower would you give yourself?
Well, there's so many to choose from. I'm going to give you a controversial answer.
Oh.
I don't think I would choose a superpower. I would choose...
money.
No, I've already clearly not made that choice. I would choose Spider-Man's web shooters.
Oh.
Like those web shooters, I would say from the time I was 4 till the time I was about 24. Like if I'm in class not paying attention, I'm shooting, you know.
I love that. That's hilarious.
It's a little disturbing. It's a little disturbing about me.
I have a great question for you from Lisa Heiser from Shine On Media. Doing Billy Elliot on Broadway, we've seen a lot of different types of films, from Matilda to Bring It On, turned into Broadway musicals.
Yeah.
What spooky movie would you turn into a Broadway musical?
Oh, gosh.
I love that question.
I'm trying to think of, like... That would be hard to pull that off. I mean, they did... Peter Darling, who is the choreographer for Billy Elliot, he did Lord of the Rings in London, which I heard was really, really cool.
Great.
He also did Matilda, and I think those are really cool, but I have to...
I'm going to say
maybe...
The Shining. I think The Shining would be the worst musical horror ever. But fantastic. Like, it'd be a fantastic train wreck. Like there'd be a whole soliloquy about all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. You know?
It's a great musical.
Here's
number.
Johnny.
You know, there actually was a musical of Carrie. It's noted as one of the greatest Broadway flops ever. And they just did a revival last year, too, and I missed it again. It opened and closed in one night. I have another, our last question, actually, from Jessica Detweiler on another awesome blog named Mommy Has a Life. These are great blog names, by the way, guys. I love them. Keean, do you feel like you get the same schooling experience being homeschooled, or you know, as you would with a public or a private school?
This is what comes up a lot, and it's also been like a really hard, you know, when I was a little bit younger, going into homeschool, it was a lot more taboo than it is now, and it's very. I know a lot of kids that have decided to do that. I'd say there's no one way to teach your kid. I feel like if homeschool is right for you or public school is right for you, I have nothing bad to say about public school. Like I know a lot of kids that like they just bash it, but there really is like public school can be so great for some people, but I feel like some people that need that quality learning experience where like I have to like go up and like walk around my house, or I just need to like run outside for a little bit, or just like scream at the top of my lungs because my ADD is kicking in. I feel like homeschool really helped me, you know, learn, because I felt like I wasn't really getting learning experience from public school. But I also have a lot of friends that do have a great time in public school and they have that social. But I feel like homeschool is definitely right for me.
Katie goes to.
Katie goes and Nick go to public school, and they love it, and it really works for them.
They could be at a dance right now.
I just get. I feel like I would just get kicked out.
The message is stay in school, kids. Jim, Keean, thank you guys so much. It's always fun to hang out with you guys. I love you guys so much.
Thank you, Ted.
If you love Spooksville as much as I do, and really, why wouldn't you? Please tune in every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, only on the Hub Network. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and come back for our next one.
Thank you.